Hey guys, it's Noam again with 2D data recording data analysis for Chuckwalla clockwise between my lap and a World Superbike rider. Um, I actually spoke with a good friend of mine who is also an instructor at Chuckwalla who saw the earlier video from today and said that I should talk a little bit about roll speeds. And I couldn't agree more. I kind of left that out on you. I left out a million things, but roll speeds are very important. When I came from car racing, we really cared about roll speeds. We were pretty much obsessed with them. We didn't call them roll speeds. We called them something else. We called them minimum speeds. So if I had a racing buddy that I was kind of friends with, and we would be willing to share data, I would ask him like in a practice session or a qualifying. I would go to him and I say, "Hey, John, what was your minimum speed at turn two?" And he would say 63 miles an hour, and I say, "Oh, mine was 61.5." And guess what? That's good for him and bad for me. So we were really obsessed about the minimum speeds at each corner. I could see how we would think that in some cases we should have a lower minimum speed at the corner, so that way we could kind of hit that late apex and get a better drive, especially with higher horsepower cars or higher horsepower motorcycles. But actually, from my experience, not so much. It's always been, no matter what, the higher your roll speed, the higher your minimum speed is, the better the whole situation is, no matter what. Um, if there was a case that you decided to have a lower minimum speed than your opponent, it would really be something like half a mile an hour slower than him, maybe even less, maybe 3/10 of a mile an hour slower than him. Make that little bit of sacrifice and hopefully gain it down the next straightaway because you lined up better. But if your roll speed is 5-10 miles an hour slower than somebody else, I could pretty much guarantee you that you're losing. When we hear about those motorcycle riders with different lines, and Mark Marquez squares off the corner a little bit better, so his minimum speed is a little bit lower than Lorenzo's, so he could get the drive. I want to make it clear they're not talking about 5 miles an hour. They're not even talking about 2 miles an hour. They're talking about half a mile an hour. So but when I comparing this my level of riding with World Superbike rider, I am never going to tell you that. Oh no, I'm making my roll speeds lower than him because I'm planning on getting the gas like a scolded cat, like a bat out of hell. So I could have this crazy drive out, break the sound barrier, and this is not true. My roll speeds are lower because I am more afraid of lean angle than him. When he looks at the side, the edge of his tire, when his motorcycle is his pits, he looks at the very edge of his tire and he sees a friendly face. I see an enemy. So it's kind of like it's more psychological about how comfortable we are on the edge, and it kind of goes back to my last video about lean angles. How high are they, and how much time are we willing to spend at that lean angle? Can I go to a 52 degree lean angle at a particular corner just the same way that this World Superbike rider did? Sure, I can, but I'll go to it for half a second and I'll get the hell out of that lean angle as soon as I can because I'm not comfortable in those waters. There's sharks there, where for him that's like warm waters with mermaids, so he'll stay there for a long time and he reaps the benefit. So anyway, enough jokes. Let's dive into it. Again, up here at the top is actually GPS miles an hour, and here in the middle section we have lean angles. He's in red. I'm in light blue, and down here we have the time diff, which we also called gap, which shows exactly how much he's gaining on me at every point of the track. This gap line right now is very boring. It's very linear because he is faster than me just a little bit, absolutely everywhere on the track. And the apex, on the entry, on the exit, he's always a little bit faster, but it's like he's a little bit faster everywhere for the entire time, and it all adds up to a good 10 seconds. If we see this line being steeper, that means he's actually gaining on me more. When the line flattens out just a little bit in some areas, like right there is just flat for a very brief moment, it means that we're actually the same speed. And if that line dipped up, it would actually mean that at that particular moment, I'm actually gaining on him. So if you could get your magnifying glass, please, and zoom into this area right here, which is turn 16, there is a brief moment of maybe a few milliseconds that I'm actually gaining on him. I'm actually faster than this guy. So don't worry, I'm submitting the data to MotoGP as we speak. Expect to see me next year over there because of that, that gap, how I'm gaining on him. It just shows true potential, obviously, right? Anyway, no more jokes. Let's dive into it. So let's go in corner by corner. I'll show you how I analyze the data. Maximum speeds, I know you guys probably are going to love it, but for me, I don't really care about that much. Maximum speeds are really about, your minimum corner speed. If you have a higher minimum corner speed by 5 miles an hour, you're going to get to cheat with that 5 miles an hour all the way down the next straightaway. So it's like just a head start. You'll hear me talking about that a lot. And also it has to do with throttle applications and how happy you are just getting that throttle earlier and get to full earlier as well. But just for the heck of it, on the start finish line, he'll get to 135 miles an hour. By the way, anytime I put my mouse anywhere on these graphs, down here below the map, we could see him in red. We could see his miles an hour versus me, lean angle, his versus me, and then the time diff, him versus me. I'll always be at 0, and I'm compared as 0 line, and it shows how much he is. So, for example, right here at turn 2, if you could look at the time diff below the map on the top right, he's 0.83, almost a full second ahead of me, just at the apex of turn 2. So he almost gained a second on me on the entry of turn 2 because two things. Let's look at them, okay? First of all, his speed down the straightaway is better. He brakes later than me, and he also brakes harder. How do we know that he brakes harder? That's very interesting because the line here, how it descends, is steeper. Mine is shallow, the blue one, and his is steeper. With data analysis, we don't look at the steepness of the line to actually compare because it's hard. We could just kind of see one is steeper, one is shallower. Steeper means he's braking harder, or if it's steeper going up, it means he's accelerating harder. But if we actually want to have an absolute value to it to compare, we'll actually look at longitudinal G forces to be able to see, oh, look, he's braking at 0.9 Gs, I'm braking at 0.7 Gs. So that's how we'd look at that, and I could go over that stuff at later videos. It certainly will be more interesting than this one, because this one's pretty basic. Okay, so let's go into turn 1. Turn 1, what is turn 1, guys? Turn 1 is a turn. Look at that. It's that left-hander, and it really is a turn, especially for this guy. He actually leans the bike to 29.2 degrees, and I lean it to a whopping 20-degree lean angle. I wouldn't doubt that if this guy actually had his own bike at this track with his crew chief and his mechanics, that he could actually lean this bike to carry enough speed and be willing to lean turn 1, left-hander, lean enough to the left to maybe about 40-degree lean angle and actually touch his knee on the ground. So how many of us have touched our knee on the ground in the left-hander turn 1? Most of us don't even think it's a turn. So, and again, at that point, he's able to do 106 miles an hour, and as he's slowing down for turn 1, and I'm at 89, so he's much faster. He's gaining a lot of time. But in turn 2, at the slowest part of the first real turn of Chuckwalla, clockwise, he'll go down to 68 miles an hour, and I'm at 62. So he's a whole 6 mile an hour faster than me. His roll speed is 6 miles an hour faster than me. And because of that, he'll be 6 miles an hour faster between turn 2 and 3. We'll both open the gas the exact same way, theoretically. Of course, I know he'll open better, but at least he will be 6 miles an hour faster than me, at the very least between turn 2 and 3, and he'll gain all the way in that section. Keep gaining and gaining on me. Turn 3, he does 73.5 miles an hour. I do 69, so he's about 4 4 miles an hour faster than me in turn 3, and again he gets a 4 miles an hour to cheat with, all the way from turn 3 to turn 4. Wonderful for him. Turn 4, his minimum speed is 71 minus 65, so almost 7 seconds, 7 mile an hour faster in turn 4. And turn 5, he does at 76.9. I do at 74. So I'm kind of like playing the same sport maybe at that brief moment. And especially here, while we tip into turn 6, he does 78 and I do 76. That's kind of the entry phase of turn 6. It's not really the apex yet, but at the very apex, he does. He'll go down to 75 miles an hour, and I'll go down to 65. So that's 10 miles an hour. That's a 10 miles an hour that I was talking to you guys about. This is where, if I'm riding with this guy and he's behind me, I just look like a cone at this point, right? It's not even the same sport. We shouldn't be on the same track together. So 10 mile an hour difference. So I would really focus on that. Turn 7, I'm not doing so bad. My minimum speed is 55.7. His is 58. So, around 2 mile an hour difference. And we could see that between turn 7 and 8, he's about 8 miles an hour different, faster than me through that entire section. Not because our roll speeds were so different, but most likely because he got on the gas a lot sooner and a lot harder than me. My lines, generally speaking, are okay at Chuckwalla. I'm pointed pretty well. I make a point of that, largely due because I'm scared and I don't want a high side, so I make sure I point well down the straight. So it's not because he's pointed better than me. That's a way of us to just kind of work on the wrong things. He's getting on the throttle harder. He's willing to pin the throttle. When he picks up the bike from 50-degree lean angle, and we could look at that with another video. When he picks up the bike from 50-degree, and he's going to go to 0-degree lean angles, get out of the corner. He'll get to full throttle by the time he's at 40 degrees, and I'll get to full throttle. I'll wait until I'm maybe 30 degrees lean angle coming out of the corner. So he'll just get there sooner. He doesn't mind. Good for him. Another thing I want to show you guys for a later video, I want to explain to you. Do you see this rise here? This kind of basically he's coming out of turn 7 on a right lean angle, and then he goes down between turn 7 and 8, and he creates a left lean angle of what it looks like 10 degrees. And then comes back to a right lean angle. At some video, I want to explain to you guys why these happen. They're very, very interesting, and you could see that I don't do them. And there is a reason why I don't, and I believe that there's a reason why most of the guys that are going down into these 40s or lower are always doing those. They're not actually going straight on the straightaways. You could see that at Qatar if you watch the last race, where on the straightaway, they come out of this left-hander, and you'd think they just stay on the left side of the track, but they don't. They go all the way to the right and then back to the left. It is not because of a defensive line. They actually have no decision on the matter. They are forced to carry that line, but I'll explain it in another video. It's very interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to turn 9. He'll do 50.5 miles an hour. I do 45. So again, a lot faster than me in turn 9. He's not scared of that off camber. It's nothing new to him. It doesn't even get to his head. And right there in turn 10, for a brief moment, I actually do the exact same speed as him. So for that brief moment, I'm actually on pace for 49. So I'm really excited. I just got to fix the other million milliseconds of the track. So we're exactly both 57 miles an hour. And again, why does he have a better exit speed? Why is his line more vertical? Why does he end up reaching a higher speed down that uphill straightaway? It is not because he's pointed better, and we could look at that some other time, and I could show you how I'm pointed. It's exactly the same. It's because he gets on the gas. He's willing to get on the gas harder. Remember how I said earlier, he looks at the edge of his tire when it's in the pits and he sees a friendly face, and I see the opposite. Okay, so again, let's look at turn 11. He'll get down to 77, for me 74. Turn 12, 75 for him, 71 for me. The bull, his minimum speed is 73.9, 74 we'll call it, 68 for me. So again, 6 miles an hour higher speed for him, higher minimum speed for him, which he gets to take advantage all the way between the bull and turn 14. At turn 14, he does 70 miles an hour, 71 miles an hour. I do 68, so I'm 3 miles an hour slower. Turn 15, he's doing 71. I'm doing 63. Yikes. And so that's a big difference. And turn 16, he gets down to 52, and I get down to 47. So how would I look at this data, first of all, is I would obviously work on the places I'm weakest at, right? Because why should I try to be faster in a place where I'm already doing okay? I should work on the weakest areas. So basically what I would do is I would look for the areas that there is the most difference between the red line and the blue line at the minimum speeds. That's where I would focus on. So here's what I would focus on. I would focus on turn 2, because there's a big difference in roll speed, so I would try to carry more speed. How do I carry more speed? I hate that. I have to carry more lean angle for longer. When it comes to lean angles, like on my last video, I could get to 52-degree lean angle on a flat, non-cambered corner. I could get to it. I'm scared. I'll get to it. I'll get down to 52-degree lean angle for like a split moment, and then I'll pick up the bike again to get the hell out of that lean angle, because that water is like filled with sharks. And for this guy, he gets down to 52-degree lean angle, and again, he's like swimming with mermaids. There is no sharks there. He's very happy, so he'll stay at the high lean angle for longer, which allows him to also take these kind of roll speeds. So not just momentarily getting to 52 and saying, woohoo, I did it. Stay there, hang out there. You do it. I'm not sure I'm okay with doing it, but I'm practicing it. So I would work on turn 2. I would work on turn 3. I'd work on turn 4. Look what I'm doing. I'm basically reading all the turn numbers for you guys. So that's very annoying. I need to work on all my roll speeds, don't I? But let's say turn 14 and 15. Which one should I choose to work on? Well, turn 14, my roll speed is only 3 miles an hour slower than him. In turn 15, it's 6-7 miles an hour slower than him. So if I was going to really work on a turn, I would work on turn 15, because it is a weaker turn for me. So I would work on my roll speeds in turn 15 rather than 14. So that's kind of how we look at the data in a very basic way when it comes to roll speeds. Roll speeds are, at least from cars, I could tell you with cars, I could get down, I could have a lap record in certain tracks. So I could tell you they matter a lot. On motorcycles, it's got to do a lot more with, courage and, interesting things like that I don't have in a car. We have a roll cage. That's our courage. But anyway, I hope this video was interesting, and maybe I'll do some more in a few days. Thanks, guys.